call to order this workshop meeting, or second meeting of the month of the Susquehanna Township Board of Commissioners. All commissioners are present with the exception of Commissioners Engel. Who else? Hissero. Otherwise, we're all here and accounted for. We did meet in executive session to discuss matters of personnel and real estate. We begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silence. And we ask that the pledge be led tonight by Commissioner Pine.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you and welcome to our audience. Begin with our audience, petitions, complaints, suggestions from citizens. Does anybody wish to address the board tonight? George? No. Never mind. Hearing none. Move on to approval of minutes from our May 11, 2023 Board of Commissioners regular meeting. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Traffic study requests. Dave, you want to take this?
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. With the agenda, there's a request from a resident that came into Commissioner Rabarczyk, resident of the First Ward, has asked for the township to analyze the intersection of Bergner Street and North 4th Street to determine whether warrants are met for turning restrictions. Chief Martin and one of his officers contacted PennDOT's LTAP coordinator, who responded that this would have to be done as an engineering study. We believe that HRG has the ability to conduct this, and this evening we're asking for the board to authorize that engagement.
I make a motion to authorize the traffic study by HRG at Bergner and North 4th Street.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any comments, questions? Do we have a rough dollar amount on this projected for this project?
I have not asked HRG for a proposal, but I'll reach out to Alex and some others.
Under $20.
You got it. With change.
Did you get that, Ken?
It's recorded.
All right, we moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is ordinances and resolutions. And first is Eagle Scout project, Gaga Ball Pit at Christian McNaughton Memorial Park, Mouse.
Thank you, Commissioners. Brady Backhouse from Boy Scout Troop 23 has proposed an Eagle Scout project at Fort McNaughton Park. It's a Gaga Ball pit. For those of you not familiar with Gaga Ball, it's in an octagonal ring, essentially, with about 24 to 30 inch high boards around it. And it's essentially dodgeball done in the scoring area where the kids slap the ball at each other to try and get each other out. It stays below the waist. It's a little safer than the typical dodgeball. And we propose the location just down below from the playground area on the flat area. In my description and everything, I gave you location on a map and diagram what the Gaga Ball pit would look like. The Recreation Advisory Committee reviewed Brady's proposal. We made a few suggestions that he's going to take into consideration to change up his design slightly to match what I've showed you here, and also committed up to $400 towards building materials as we've done with other scout projects in the past.
So moved. Second.
Okay, and the motion is to both approve the project and to authorize the commitment of up to $400 for materials for the project, correct?
That's right, sir.
All right. So it's been moved and seconded. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, I have how big is this, Doug? I mean, it's octagonal,
Yeah,
So is it 12 feet around or something?
it's about 10 to 12 feet. It's not massive. It's not like gonna take up a ton of space.
And what's the construction of it?
It's gonna be wood.
It's right here.
Oh, I don't,
Looks like
I don't
treated
remember seeing
pine.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wood with metal bracketing on the outside to secure the wood.
And they get in the inside of this and
Yeah,
play
they get in
dodgeball.
Yeah, essentially.
Can we have a demonstration?
Fight dog, right?
Yeah, I don't have that. One
Here, I have a copy I can give you.
Oh, okay, no, I do.
The back, yeah.
And we're being asked for $400. Yeah, I have it. I'm sorry. I wasn't finding it. And is this going to be pressure treated wood? I'm just wondering how adequate $400 is going to be for materials. I just bought some pressure treated wood.
Well,
It's pretty pricey.
No, it will not cover the entire cost. Part of Eagle projects also is typically the scout will go and either do fundraising or work with various commercial retailers to get supplies that they would need. And it all depends on the scope of the project and how big they're doing it, but typically they are out doing some work on their own to get the materials, so we're not funding it totally.
Okay. Okay, that's the only questions I had. I just wanted to make sure, the funding was going to be adequate for what they're going to build. I think I've seen these in other parks. The ones I saw were constructed with posts into the ground, concreted in, and,
Barbed wire, all that stuff.
His original design had posts, but they were on the inside of the pit, which we were a little concerned about, especially if someone fell into the post.
Yeah.
What's also nice with this too is if we would have to remove it for any reason or change locations with it, we will be able to do that with this design.
Yeah, I see. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the preliminary final development plan for Covenant Christian Academy. Ms. Logan?
Thank you. Provided with the agenda was a link to the preliminary final subdivision and land development plan submitted for Covenant Christian Academy. You should also have a copy of the staff report summarizing the project and recommendations and conditions of approval. The purpose of this plan is to consolidate 2 existing parcels owned by Covenant Christian Academy, expand the parking facilities, and develop a soccer field on the newly consolidated lot. The project's located in the R2 medium density residential zoning district and conservation zoning district in Ward 3. The Planning Commission reviewed the requests for waivers and the plan at their meeting on April 24th. They were recommending approval of the 2 waivers from Section 22-404 preliminary plan procedure and from Section 22-1107 sidewalk installation along State Farm and Carter Drive.
Okay, is there a motion on the 2 waivers? It's put forward by Ms. Logan.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the waiver from the school regarding preliminary plan procedures as well as sidewalks along State Farm and Carter Drives.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Yeah, I drove past it the other day, yesterday, just to look at the sidewalk situation. And on Elmerton/State Farm, there's nowhere to go. There's rock, and there's already sidewalk on the east side of Carter Drive. And there's not here. And the slope, Alex, you tell me if I'm wrong, but it's got to be, I don't know, 5-8%.
Probably more than that.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we're covered with sidewalks there, so it's not like we're abrogating our commitment to sidewalks. Any other comments or questions? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of the preliminary final plan with the following conditions. All outstanding comments on review letters from the staff dated 4/17/2023 and the township engineer dated 4/20/23 are addressed. that we receive a copy of the approved NPDES permit, as well as a copy of the ENS control plan report. Executed operation and maintenance agreement is provided for the stormwater management facilities, as well as easement agreements and financial security for the construction of all the applicable improvements. And again, the Planning Commission recommended approval of the plan.
Mr. President, I move that we approve the plan, subject to the conditions recommended by the Planning Commission.
All right, it's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Commissioner Napper. Any comments or questions?
Yes, I do. At the Planning Commission meeting, there was discussion of a pedestrian walkway to run alongside the exit lane. It seemed like the only pedestrian way to get from the parking lot to the school was to walk in the exit lane, the traffic lane. And the plan does show striping, at least, for a pedestrian walkway. It still looks as though it's encroaching possibly on the exit lane. There's two exit lanes, and the northernmost exit lane looks narrower than the other one. So my question is, after the 5-foot walkway is taken out of that lane, what's the remaining width of that traffic lane there?
Yeah, the drop off, Rick Castronio with Alpha Consulting Engineers representing the academy. The drop off lane is 12 feet, and then I believe the through lane is 18 feet.
So the lane after the removal of the 5-foot width is 12?
No, that includes, that's in addition, we have 5 feet. We have a 5 feet pedestrian crosswalk, and then we have a 12-foot drop-off lane, and then an 18-foot lane. So you have 30 feet.
Is 12-foot adequate within sort of zoning regulations or whatever for a car to go by without encroaching on the walkway?
I believe it is, yes.
And where is that walkway? Does that feed into State Farm? Is that what you're talking about, Gary?
No, it does not.
It runs on the north side of the parking area. There's two exit lanes.
Okay.
Towards I guess there's a athletic field of some kind, a school. It's near that. And it's on the north side. It's just it's part of the macadam that's there now. You're not expanding.
No, we are expanding the
Oh, you are expanding
yes.
it, okay. I just wanted to make sure that there was adequate room there, that just looking at the drawing, it looked like that drop-off lane is narrower than the other lane. Now, I want to make sure that, the idea is that we don't want people walking where the traffic's
I mean,
going.
typically parallel parking spaces are 8 feet to 10 feet from the curb, so we have 12 feet. And then you also have the 5-foot sidewalk, so.
Okay. Yeah, 12 feet was wider than my garage space. Okay.
And when I drove past there yesterday, I noticed there's looks like a back entrance up to the construction site. It's gated, it's rough. It's not a finished road by any means, but it is gated off. So it goes from State Farm heading east, like up a hill. Is that part of this project?
No, it is not.
Do you know what it is?
I mean, there's a single-family residence down there. Is that where you're talking, where that area is?
No, it's when Locust Lane curves around and becomes State Farm, right? About halfway between there and the Greenbelt entrance. Off to your right is a gate. Yeah, go ahead. What's your name?
David Sanju. I'm the head of school at Covenant.
Okay.
Yeah, that's gate into our property that we just did for security, so that people couldn't just walk into our property for school security purposes.
Right, so that's not part of this project?
Not at all.
Okay. Gotcha. Yeah, there'd be ingress and egress issues, I'm sure there, site distance considerations, but it's not part of the project, so. Any other questions or comments? So. Anything else, Betsy?
I have nothing else to add. They did, as you can see, add the striping to the area, or the addition macadam for, so that we could get people off the sidewalk, which was what the planning commission had requested, so.
Okay, so a motion was made for number one, the two waivers, right?
I think we also had a motion for number 2.
Oh, we did the waivers already.
Yeah, you did the waivers already. It's for the,
Okay, so the second motion is for the approval of the land development plan, subject to the conditions that Betsy Logan outlined. Right? And that's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions before we vote? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good luck. Okay. Next up is 3401 and 3405 North Front Street. This is a preliminary final lot consolidation plan. Ms. Logan.
thank you. The purpose of the plan is to consolidate the existing 3.37 acre lot with the existing 0.903 acre lot, unimproved lot, to create a consolidated 3.94 acre lot on Front Street between 3401 and 3405. The project is located in the Business Office Residential Zoning District in Ward 1. The Planning Commission reviewed this project at their meeting on April 24th. They are recommending approval of waivers for preliminary plan procedures, drawing scale. The other requests for a sidewalk installation, the Planning Commission is recommending denial of that waiver request.
Mr. President,
Ms. Rabarchak.
I'd like to make a motion to approve waivers 1 and 2, the preliminary plan procedure and drawing scale.
Okay. Is there a second to that?
Second?
Seconded by Commissioner Rothrock. Any discussion or comment? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we have a second proposed motion.
I move to deny waiver number 3, the sidewalk waiver.
Is there a second to that?
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded. Comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. That's it.
Okay, thank you. The Planning Commission also recommended approval of the plan with the following conditions. The applicant pays all required fees. Prior to the release of plans for recording, all signatures and seals are provided. Street trees and sidewalks are provided in accordance with the Susquehanna Township subdivision and land development ordinance, and financial security for the timely and proper installation of on-site improvements is provided.
Okay, is there a
The
motion
Planning
on,
Commission recommended approval again
gotcha.
with those
Okay.
conditions.
Is there a motion on the plan as outlined by the assistant manager?
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded by Commissioner Colonna. Any comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, let's mitigate some radon. Mr. Proboka.
Thank you, Mr. President. Recently, staff brought a firm in to do some radon testing in the building. While a majority of the building is below the EPA recommended 4 picocuries per liter, there were some areas that were identified as concerning that were above that limit. There is a proposal in your packet to install 2 active radon fans to mitigate those problem areas, and the total amount of the engagement is $2,890. Staff is recommending that the board approve the agreement with EnviroQuest Inc. to install the two mitigation systems.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Commissioner Polona, seconded by Commissioner Napper. Any comments or questions?
Is that a sub-slab suction system?
It is, you say that 10 times fast.
I had one
Sir.
installed in my home.
Seashells by the seashore.
No, that's,
It is, they would drill into the foundation, seal it up, of course, try to get to a cavity below grade, below slab, and then it's just a pretty basic fan and a pipe that discharges its exhaust above the roof line, and we'll do a follow-up test a couple of weeks after the system's installed and has had a chance to operate, and make sure that we got all those areas of concern. The concerning areas, as expected, were in the basement, in the areas that have low ventilation. So that's the areas that we're targeting with the placement of these systems.
it's a couple of penetrations, or, you know?
I'm sorry?
How many penetrations of?
Just two.
Oh, that's what-
Yeah, just
okay.
two.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty standard.
Mr. Radon.
I know how nice pitch.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. Any other comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next up is the rental housing program discussion.
Thank you, Mr. President. So the board's had some discussion about considering moving ahead with the implementation of a rental housing licensing and inspection program in the context of the capital improvement program and operating budget last year. We have in the budget an amount to hire a full-time rental housing inspector who could also assist Catherine Hartz and Joe Vita in some of their typical building inspection, property maintenance kinds of issues. In the agenda, we prepared a memo, Chief Martin, Assistant Manager Logan, and I, just to kind of describe the nature of what staff is proposing, as well as some tentative milestone dates for your review and consideration. There are two sample ordinances that I believe have also been included with your agenda, or perhaps I can distribute them as we go through the development of them. I don't think they made it into the packet, but two that are local, are fairly local anyway. Paxton Borough, just our neighbor, has a really excellent ordinance to regulate rental housing. And then Cheltenham Township, which is outside of Philadelphia, has recently implemented this. But there's in the memo some description about kind of the I guess what the research in the field suggests with respect to property maintenance issues, rental housing regulations as they apply to criminal activity that you may see in certain areas, and just in an effort to improve the life safety of our residents, the tenants in Susquehanna Township. So this evening, I'm really just looking for any comments, discussion, concerns the board might have, and if you're interested in proceeding, to have a motion to direct staff to begin the development of a draft ordinance for rental housing regulation inspection program in the township.
So moved.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Does anybody have any comments or questions in the meantime on the shape of this study?
Just a quick question. Would this include short-term rentals? Do we have some discussions about that?
I would suggest that it would, because, and I think you find some variation in that in different communities, how they apply this to the Airbnbs and the VRBOs and other short-term rentals. But, really the same kinds of standards that you would expect a property owner who rents his or her property out 365 days a year should apply to one that rents a handful of days or fewer out of the year, because there are things like ensuring proper ingress and egress, and fire protection is in place, and just the kinds of life safety standards. So my recommendation at the moment, of course, I think this is going to be a deliberative process that will occur over the next few months, would be that we would include short-term rentals as part of this, in addition to the added regulations that you might see in your zoning ordinance that apply.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's good, thank you.
Any other comments or questions?
You think you have enough time to reach out to stakeholders, like a 15-day period?
I knew that question was going to come up. Thank you. I appreciate it. I think the timeline is a little ambitious and it may be a little fluid, but just to have these kind of milestones to keep me, kind of keep the process in front of me and the board and everybody that gets involved. I think it's going to depend on how much engagement we hear from the community, you all hear from your constituents. What the development of the ordinance looks like, other stakeholder comments that are provided as well. So that it is meant to just kind of be a draft of a potential timeline. But I think if we really focus our efforts, it's very feasible to have this program in place, allowing some time for implementation and community education and outreach. In the first quarter of next year.
Because I think for people like who do Airbnb and whatnot, like there's an income side of that. I know how it is reported, and if you want to include them, I don't know if they want to come out for this kind of thing. But I think it's equally important that they are included, and hopefully they do come out. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Any other comments? All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Next up is the consent agenda, and there are 4 items on it. Feel free to discuss after I describe them. And they are the permanent appointments of both Officer Robert Neely and Officer Tracy Kruger to our police department. Haven't finished their probationary period. Financial security reductions, one for Russell Drive Lot 2 in the amount of $143,240, and the other at Enclave at Elmerton in the amount of $136,329. Can I have a motion on that, and then we can discuss any item?
Move.
Moved by Commissioner Barczyk.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pine. Mr. President, may I make a comment?
Absolutely.
As a matter of record. Initial drafts of this agenda had 2 other items on consent for this evening. They were to authorize the installation of streetlights in Penn Alley and on Lynn Street. These were resident requests. Unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to get poll numbers at one of the 2 locations, so I do plan to reschedule that agenda item in June when I've had a chance to identify some poll numbers, communicate with PP&L to make sure that everything is feasible, and then present it back to board for approval. So apologies for that.
Any other comments or questions? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Commissioner comments. I know Commissioner Rothrock has one.
We have had many discussions and actions taken regarding sidewalks, including this evening, in an effort to try to get better pedestrian infrastructure in our township. And I think it is time for the township to step up and put sidewalk across the front of their own property here on Lincolnstown Road. And so I would like to propose that the staff begin to get the ball rolling on that in terms of planning or getting cost estimates and that type of thing, so that we could see that happen maybe within the next year or so.
Okay. Should we need a second on that in terms of a motion? Walt, you're up.
Yeah, I think that's second.
Second.
Second by Commissioner Pine. Any discussion?
Not additional. Another comment.
What?
Another comment.
Another comment?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So
After
not
that.
on this issue?
Not it.
Oh, gotcha. Any other comments on the sidewalk item raised by Commissioner Rothrock? All's in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Commissioner Paloma.
All right, so actually, this is a segue from what Commissioner Rocky mentioned. So there'll be our first public meeting for the township-wide bicycle pedestrian greenway master planning on June 1st from 6 to 8 here at the township building.
Is that June 1st?
June 1st.
6 to 8. Okay. Very good. Anybody else have have something they'd like to say? Latasha? You don't have to.
No, there was, let's see, isn't there an upcoming event where we are doing a dedication
Same
to
day.
the playground the same day? Okay, so I would just comment on that, and hopefully those who can attend will be present for that occasion.
We also have National Night Out coming up, first week in August. It's always on Sewer Authority night,
Yeah,
past 22 years.
so we have to leave early. So,
Yes, if you want to keep Tony happy.
yeah.
There's the Tour de Bell,
The Tour de Bell coming up on the 5th,
June 4.
June 4th.
June 4th. Anybody else have any comments?
You ride with us.
Kathy is.
Imagine that.
All right, it appears that we've run out of comments. So at this point, the chair would entertain the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Moved in second. Comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, everyone.
All right.